Hey everyone, this is Thyworm and today I want to talk about crafting in Last Epoch. In this small series expect bite-sized videos with specific crafting topics. Part 1, this video is a general introduction. I'll explain why crafting is a vital component in Last Epoch. To be clear, crafting itself doesn't really require a guide at all. Crafting itself is very straightforward. You take an item, you select an affix shard and you forge. This series isn't really about how to craft, but more about understanding all the different aspects of crafting, all the little intricate details. You want to know this because it helps you make better crafting decisions, and ultimately it helps you become better at crafting in general because you understand how the system works. Last Epoch has a very interesting crafting system. The game itself is in early access, but I would argue the crafting system is definitely not in early access. It's very fleshed out already, it offers a lot of variety, and above all, it is the best way to consistently get endgame gear. During the campaign, crafting is explained in a side quest, but it is very minimal. When I first encountered the quest, I just completed it for the XP and never really touched crafting until much later, and at that point I found it somewhat overwhelming. It's not really an intuitive system after all, but it offers a lot of depth and crafting is very much its own thing in Last Epoch. For now, let's look at when you should be crafting. There's no right or wrong moment really, but where crafting truly shines is during endgame. There are 3 reasons for this. First, while leveling you will find pretty decent rare items and uniques. During leveling, which is basically your character's progression up until level 45 at this point, you can make use of the stuff you find and you shouldn't really have a hard time completing the campaign unless you are very under-leveled. In other words, when questing in the campaign there is no real reason to craft and spend crafting materials. An exception would be solo self-found hardcore runs. Second, the distribution of uniques. Uniques drop fairly often, and when you look at all the uniques combined you will notice that most uniques are low-level items. The majority of available uniques are very suitable for leveling, for doing the campaign, but they're not viable for endgame. Most of the uniques don't really scale well into the late game, and there are only a handful level 60 plus uniques that are usable in arena or monolith builds. This means you'll need alternative gear by crafting. Third, the distribution of affixes. I'll go more in depth into affixes in another crafting video in this series, but if you're not familiar with affixes, they're basically the modifiers that you find on your items. The problem, however, with affixes is that they're randomly allocated, and not only that, their distribution is also weighted. Some affixes are much rarer than others. Every time an item drops, the affixes are randomly selected. You'll need to be pretty lucky to find an item with all 4 affixes you want. On a good base item with high tier affixes, chances are extremely small, so that's why you should be crafting. These 3 reasons combined make crafting a necessity. Once you get to endgame content, you simply need to craft items yourself to get the appropriate number of defensive stats, offensive stats, and utility, just in order to survive the endgame content. That is why you should be aware of how crafting works, and that is why this series is going to be valuable. By combining all the different affix shards, by using the glyphs in the appropriate manner, by finding the correct base items, by knowing which affixes can be applied on which items, and by understanding what good statistics are, you can be a master craftsman, building your own set of armor and weapons so you can survive the various eras and defeat wave after wave in the arena. This was just a short introduction. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. Bye bye.